Vitamin C is a really well-known and clinically researched ingredient that I would probably argue is the most sought-after ingredient in the beauty industry. That doesn't mean you should start cutting up all those oranges and lemons and rubbing them on your face. In fact, that could actually do more damage to your skin. The acidity in these fruits, they could burn your skin, and it can also cause photosensitivity, which is a fancy word for your skin's gonna burn more easily by the sun. Even if you find really fun recipes online of mixing fruit together and putting it on your face, I still wouldn't recommend it. But what makes vitamin C so special anyway? Vitamin C is a potent antioxidant that fights off free radicals. That's why it's so special. But wait, what are free radicals? I'm glad you guys asked. Honestly, I swear, like, free radicals always mentioned in the beauty industry. I remember when I first got into skincare, I'm just like, free radicals, free radical. Like, what is a free freaking radical? Just explain it to me. All right, so free radicals are essentially unstable molecules in the air that can damage our skin. Free radicals are everywhere. They come from the sun, environment pollution, smoke, toxins, chemicals, and even us, like people, we even give off free radicals. So protecting our skin from these free radicals can slow down the signs of aging and overall help achieve a healthier, brighter, and more youthful appearance to the skin. So the best way to fight off free radicals? Yeah, you guessed it, antioxidants. That's why we're talking about vitamin C, free radicals, and antioxidants. They all go together. And since vitamin C is packed full of antioxidants and is one of the most well-known studied ingredients in the beauty industry, it makes this ingredient the most sought after ingredient in the beauty industry. Hold on, guys. I have a huge announcement. I'm sorry to interrupt. I have memberships on YouTube now. Most of you guys are probably already familiar with my Patreon, where I post 2 bonus videos a month, all my videos in written form over there. And you know what? Part of the world didn't have access to it. India specifically, I know, can't access Patreon, and I know I got a lot of you guys watching me over there, which thank you so much. If you're in India or any other country that can't access Patreon, you can now become a member on my YouTube channel. It's $5 a month, and you'll have access on YouTube of any future exclusive video I post, but you can actually also go to the backlog of Patreon too. Let me explain to you how. I have a website I created years ago, and I actually transferred all of my Patreon content onto that website, and that website is locked. But if you become a membership in the $5 tier here on YouTube, you'll have access to that website, so you can actually go back to the entire backlog of Patreon as well. And then any future videos will be here on YouTube, and in order to get the blog that goes along with it, you'll have to go over to the website. If you have access to Patreon, then I recommend signing up for Patreon for any of the exclusive content. Yeah, memberships, $5 a month, 2 bonus videos, and all the backlog content. Back to the video. But overall, vitamin C is said to help with slowing down the signs of aging, improving the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. It can help fade dark spots, can help with acne, and prevent sun damage. L-Ascorbic Acid / Ascorbic Acid. It goes by the same name. These words are used interchangeably, so you might see it written both ways, but it's the same ingredients. So ascorbic acid is the chemical name for vitamin C. So when looking for vitamin C in an ingredient list, you want to look for L-ascorbic acid or ascorbic acid. Don't look for vitamin C, it won't be on there. It'll be ascorbic acid. And the same goes for us home crafters. If you want the most natural form of vitamin C, look for ascorbic acid or L-ascorbic acid. But there is a catch. Yes, this ingredient is too good to be true. It's really freaking unstable. Ascorbic acid hates oxygen and it hates light, and last that I checked, oxygen and light is everywhere. So this makes ascorbic acid an extremely hard ingredient to formulate with. So this is why you'll notice that vitamin C serums or moisturizers on the market that actually uses L-ascorbic acid are pretty expensive. And it's because these ascorbic acid, vitamin C, formulas are hard to formulate, and a lot of trial and error goes into creating these formulas. And oftentimes you also need to add in a lot of other ingredients to that product to keep the vitamin C or ascorbic acid stable. For example, other antioxidants like vitamin E and ferulic acid can help with keeping ascorbic acid more stable, along with the addition of chelating agents, a dark bottle so light can't enter, and also you want to use an airless bottle or airless pump. And you'll know that your ascorbic acid has been destabilized when the product starts to look like yellow, orange, brownish, any color like that. Now you know your ascorbic acid is starting to oxidize, and it's not going to be as effective anymore, or not effective at all. Formulating with L-ascorbic acid at home. So for all these reasons I just mentioned, I haven't shared a formula with ascorbic acid. But today, I want to. But before we get into actually formulating with the ascorbic acid, I do want to talk about it a bit more. I purchased my L-Ascorbic Acid from LotionCrafter.com. Theirs is ultra fine. You don't need to grind it down. If you're buying an ascorbic acid that is more coarse, probably have to grind it down with like a mortar and pestle or a coffee grinder that's only used for cosmetics, and wear a respirator. L-ascorbic acid easily dissolves in water, but it's sparingly soluble in absolute ethanol, and it's insoluble in fats and lipids. So the typical usage rate for L-ascorbic acid is 1 to 4%, but it seems like you can use it up to 15% because LotionCrafter literally has formulas that use it at 14%. And then you see products sold on the market using it at 10%, 15%. Even though it's typically used at 1 to 4%, it seems that up to 15% is totally safe. When you dissolve the ascorbic acid in water, it actually lowers the pH down to like 2.2 to 2.5. And this is way too low for the skin. This is why you can't just dissolve the ascorbic acid in water and then apply it to your skin like daily, because you have to adjust the pH before you apply it on your skin or else it'll burn. That's like a common thing a lot of home crafters will try to do to get around the instability of ascorbic acid. You do need to raise that pH so it doesn't burn your skin. L-ascorbic acid is more stable when it's in anhydrous or silicone bases as opposed to aqueous bases. Ferulic acid and vitamin E are said to help boost the stability of ascorbic acid, which I already mentioned, but I wanted to mention again. Since I'm not a chemist and since ascorbic acid is so hard to formulate with, I wanted to try some example formulas provided by LotionCrafter.com in order to use this ascorbic acid. Because the only way for me to really create an ascorbic acid or vitamin C formula and like tell you guys it's stable is for me to do testing. I'm not gonna put so much work into a formula to give it to you guys for free, right? That would be like months and months of work going into creating a stable vitamin C formula. As I've been saying, it's so hard to use. So for those reasons, we're going to be using these example formulas from LotionCrafter. Talk about them. I'll let you know what I think. And supposedly they are stable formulas for vitamin C. So the first and easiest formula by LotionCrafter.com. It only involves 3 ingredients. Here's the formula we're working with. As you can see, we're using 10% ascorbic acid. Also, we're using an ingredient called Tetrahexyldecyl Ascorbate. I'll be going into more detail about this ingredient later in the video. It's basically vitamin C that's been changed chemically to be more stable. So it's light stable, it's oxygen stable. There's just not as much research to back up its claims as L-ascorbic acid. LotionCrafter also mentions our double C serum contains water-soluble ultra-fine L-ascorbic acid powder with oil-soluble tetrahexyldecyl ascorbate and an anhydrous, water-free silicone base for high potency and stability. Based on a study by Dr. Fitzpatrick and Roaston, I don't know if I said your name right, I'm so sorry. Published in Dermatological Surgery, March 2002. Using 10% ascorbic acid and 7% tetrahexyldecyl ascorbate, a lipid-soluble analog, these are combined in an anhydrous polysilicone gel base, which acts as a dermal patch, releasing the water-soluble acid slowly and the lipid-soluble analog rapidly. I'm sorry if that was confusing, but basically what you need to know is that this formula has been studied and proven and shown to be a stable vitamin C formula. So let's get formulating. I'm gonna make a 50-gram batch of this serum, and you wanna start with using a sanitized mixing bowl. If you guys don't know how to sanitize your equipment, I have a video that goes into all the detail on how to sanitize your equipment when formulating. It's super important to make sure you have a clean, sanitized environment, or else your products will grow mold, yeast, and bacteria. Luckily, since this product specifically doesn't contain water, it doesn't need a preservative, and it is way less likely to grow mold and bacteria, but still I want you to use clean equipment when formulating. So the first ingredient we're gonna be adding in is LotionCrafter EL40. So LotionCrafter EL40 is a combination of dimethicone and dimethicone cross polymers. So this is a silicone base gel essentially, and I added in 41.5 grams of it since I'm only making a 50-gram batch, and you can double that amount and that'll make a 100-gram batch. This stuff I've formulated with before, and I made a makeup primer, and I believe the video is over on Patreon for free if you guys want to go watch it. Next ingredient I'm adding in is 5 grams of ascorbic acid, and you don't have to do this, but I did it just in case. I sifted the ascorbic acid. We talked about this earlier. Their ascorbic acid is ultra fine, so you shouldn't have to sift it. I just did it just in case because I didn't want it to mess up. I only had enough ascorbic acid to make these recipes. I didn't have any left over, so if I messed up, I was screwed. So I didn't want to mess it up. So I sifted it, but it will work out if you don't sift it. Anyway, so I sifted it, I mixed it in really well, and you have this nice white, creamy kind of paste looking stuff. And then you want to add in the Tetrahexyldecyl Ascorbate. And the formula calls for 7%, so I went ahead and added in 3.5 grams. If you want to make a 100-gram batch, add in 7 grams. And then I just mixed that all together until it was well combined. And here is what she looks like in the end. And you want to make sure you package this in an airless pump. I stupidly, for some reason, completely forgot about the bottle needing to be dark. Don't worry, I later ended up wrapping these bottles with electrical tape. All I did was just take some electrical tape and then wrap around the part that was see-through. I don't know what I was thinking when I bought these off Amazon. I will have a link down below if you want to buy them. I'll have all the packaging and equipment I use linked down below, as much as I can link. I ended up needing to actually use a syringe. I use these syringes when I fill lip glosses, or you've probably seen people on like TikTok or Reels using these to fill up their lip gloss tubes. This was great for filling these because the vitamin C serum was super thick and then the opening was so tiny, so I had to use a syringe to fill it. If you don't have the syringe, maybe if you put it in a plastic baggie and cut off the tip, that would also work. Here is how they look in the end. And the best way I can describe them is they feel like a silicone-based serum. The only difference is that I do notice a little bit of the ascorbic acid powder. Like as I'm massaging it into my skin, I do notice the powder there. But throughout the day, like not even throughout the day, literally just seconds later, it's gone. I massage it in and it's not abrasive because I've had that happen before. I've made lotions and like my powders didn't dissolve and it felt like there were like chunks in it, like shards. This doesn't feel like that. It feels really soft, so it won't like hurt your skin at all. I do notice that I only use this when I put on makeup. If I'm not wearing makeup that day, I really don't want to put this product on because I notice it just feels too heavy for my preference. But I won't say it's heavy. It's just like, I know there's something on my skin and I'm like, I don't want anything on my skin today. That's why I didn't wear makeup. Do notice that I'm not reaching for this product. I don't want that to discourage you from trying it. I actually have it on today. When I wear makeup, I do put it on as my primer. I kind of just stopped using my regular primer and I've been using this and the next product we're about to make as my primer actually. Maybe we should just market it as a vitamin C primer. Here's another formula with L-Ascorbic Acid provided by LotionCrafter.com. Not my formula, their formula. I get no credit for this. They call this one the C&E Intensive Serum, again by LotionCrafter.com. So this formula is super similar to the one we just made. The main difference is that they have added in an ingredient called micro silica spheres, and they say, end quote, for aesthetics and sebum control, end quote. And they added in vitamin E for its, quote, cat food. He is not waking up for the cat food. He doesn't care. And they added in the vitamin E for its skin benefits. That's their quote. We're also using a different silicone base. So instead of the LotionCrafter EL40, which is dimethicone and dimethicone cross polymer, we're actually using an ingredient called LotionCrafter EL3045. And this actually contains, I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, but cyclopentasiloxane and C30-45 alkyl cetyl dimethicone cross polymer. Sorry if I didn't say that right. They also use another silicone under the name LotionCrafter LC995, but its inky name is cyclomethicone. So I'm gonna be making a 50-gram batch. You wanna make sure you start out with a sanitized container, and I added in 8.5 grams of the LotionCrafter LC995, which is the cyclomethicone. And then I added in 3 grams of the microsilica spheres, and I mixed that in until they were both well combined. Then after that, I added in 27.5 grams of the LotionCrafter EL3045, and then just gently mix all that together until it's well combined. And now it's time to add in the ascorbic acid. Again, I used a sifter just in case. You don't need it, but I used it anyway. And after you got all that powder mixed in, you can go ahead and add in 3.5 grams of the Tetrahexyldecyl Ascorbate. Make sure you add in the 2.5 grams of vitamin E. And again, if you want to double this batch, double that. But also, if you guys want to learn how to transfer formulas to whatever batch size you want to make, go watch my video all about how to do it. It's super, super easy. And that way you can make whatever amount you want to make off of any of the formulas I share. Again, I made the stupid mistake of buying these pink airless pump bottles. I must have been distracted by the cute pink color. I didn't make sure that they weren't see-through. So the sun, the light can go through these bottles since they are clear. So I made sure to later wrap them up with electrical tape after I remembered. Don't do what I do, do what I say. Make sure you have a dark bottle. And this formula, I was actually able to just pour into the bottles. It was way thinner than the last formula, so you don't need a syringe or a piping bag or anything. And again, overall, my thoughts are basically the same for this product as the last one. I really don't notice much of a difference from the way they feel, to be completely honest. They just both feel like a silicone-based serum. It's the best way I can describe it. Honestly, it feels great. It makes your skin feel like a baby soft. If you like your skin feeling soft and you don't mind silicones and you want some vitamin C and you want to make it at home, these formulas are actually really good. I really like them. One last formula. This one is a water-based vitamin C serum. So if you're looking for that, here it is. I did change the formula just a tad. They use 0.5% phenoxyethanol in phase C as a preservative. I actually switched that out for 0.5% Liquidermal Plus because phenoxyethanol isn't a broad spectrum preservative. So that's why you'll see phenoxyethanol a lot of times in broad spectrum preservative blends, but it's never alone because it's not broad spectrum. You have to pair it with another preservative. I decided to change that out for Liquidermal Plus. It shouldn't make any difference in the formula. Here's the overall formula. I know it's a long one. It comes together pretty easily. Let's get into formulating. I'm gonna make a 50-gram batch again, just a little baby batch. We're gonna start with phase A, and I added in 23.02 grams of distilled water. And you do wanna make sure you're using distilled water. Don't use any other water. Distilled water is free of any microbes, bacteria, anything that might be in your water. Then the formula calls for 0.35 triethanolamine. I don't know if I said that right. We're just gonna call it TEA because that's what people normally call it. And this ingredient I do wanna talk about for a second. This ingredient is an ingredient that is used to raise the pH. Like we talked about earlier, vitamin C has a really low pH. So when you add it into water, the pH drops a lot and you have to raise that pH in order for it to be safe to use on the skin. The two formulas we already made, we didn't have to worry about adjusting the pH because they were oil/silicone-based products and they don't have a pH. Water-based products do have a pH. Oil-based products don't have a pH. I do have a video that goes in depth on pH, which we're going to be talking a lot more about pH as we get farther in this video. Now, the next thing I added in is 0.25 grams of the Liquidermal Plus. Then I added in 0.25 grams of D-L-panthenol. This is a vitamin. It's great for the skin. It's also a humectant. I love this ingredient. I use it all the time. Just mix it in until it fully dissolves because it is a powder, so it needs to dissolve in water. And then I'm going to add in 0.25 grams of ferulic acid. Like we talked about earlier, this ingredient does help boost the stability of vitamin C. And it's also an antioxidant. So mix that in until it's well dissolved, and then we can work on phase B. And phase B is just 0.05 grams of a high molecular weight hyaluronic acid. LotionCrafter does mention that you can use any of the hyaluronic acids you want. You don't have to use high molecular weight. You could use medium molecular weight or ultra low molecular weight. As for hyaluronic acid stock, it doesn't mention that. And really when it comes to any substitutions with these LotionCrafter formulas, I can't really say for sure if they'll work or not. Obviously me changing out the preservative, I knew would be okay. But doing any other changes, I don't really know for sure. They're not my formulas. The way they mentioned to do it in their directions is to sprinkle the high molecular weight hyaluronic acid powder on top of your water phase and then just let it sit for a couple hours, and then you come back and mix it, and then it's hydrated and like gelled a little bit. We're only using a small amount. The viscosity increase will barely be noticeable. Put your phase A/B to the side to do its thing, and we're gonna move on to phase C. And the first ingredient in phase C is 10 grams of ethoxydeglycol. I don't know if I said that right, guys. And then I also added in 5 grams of propylene glycol, that is a humectant, and then 1.5 grams of a glycerin, and then 1.5 grams of Laureth 23. These are like little chunks. So that's what we're melting down. And then I'm adding in 0.5 grams of mixed tocopherols 95%. This is vitamin E. Now that those are all combined, we are actually going to cover the beaker with some foil and place it in a water bath on about medium heat. If you have a hot plate, you could use that to heat it up. I like to cover it with some foil and make sure none of the water goes in. Keep it on like medium heat. We don't want it boiling. And this will help melt everything down. So here is my phase A and B. This is the water with the hyaluronic acid and everything. It's been about 3 hours. Technically in this video, it's actually the next day, but it's been long enough. The hyaluronic acid is hydrated, so I went ahead and mixed that all in. You can barely tell the water's thickened, but it's ready for phase C. So go ahead and remove your phase C from heat once everything in it is melted. Pour your phase C into your phase A and B and mix to combine everything. And then you're gonna wanna let it cool, let it get to around room temperature. Now it doesn't say in the directions to wait for this to cool down, but I went ahead and let mine cool to around room temperature, and then I added in the phase D ingredients, which is the girl we've been talking about, Miss L-Ascorbic Acid. I accidentally spilled some of mine out of my beaker if you've noticed, but yeah, I added in 7.5 grams of the ascorbic acid. I did, again, sift it. You don't need to. I just did just in case. And I just kind of did this in sections. I'm realizing I should have gotten a much wider beaker, so I didn't just spill ascorbic acid off the side of it. Learn from my mistake. I just went ahead and slowly added bit by bit until I got it all incorporated, mixed it, and waited for it to dissolve. Now we can move on to phase E. This is the last part. This is the pH adjusting phase. And you want the final pH to be somewhere between 3 to 3.5. So you do want to make sure it's room temperature when you're taking the pH, because temperature can affect pH. And again, like we talked about earlier, we did add that TEA in phase A to help raise the pH, but as we're about to find out as I am taking the pH, it didn't raise the pH enough. Again, I have my video that goes in depth all about pH, how to use a pH meter, how to raise pH, how to lower pH. So go watch that video for more information, because it's too much to cover here. This video got way too long. The natural pH of my vitamin C serum ended up being 2.77, which is still too low for us to add onto our skin. So I did end up needing to add a little bit more of that triethylamine, I can't say it, TEA. And in total, I ended up adding in 0.07 grams of the TEA. Basically, here I am just taking the pH again. But yeah, my final product had a pH of 3.2, have a pH between 3 to 3.5. I was trying to get as close to 3.5 as possible, but I was scared I was gonna get it too high, so I just left it at 3.2. And this time, guys, I got the right kind of container. It's black, it's not see-through. Yay, which is probably more important because this is water-based. Here's how the final vitamin C water-based vitamin C serum turned out. I do actually like the feel of this one the most, but it still is like kind of a unique feeling I've never felt before. It's a pretty fluid product. So, you know, when you pour it on your hand, it is gonna be a little like wonky, which I don't really mind. I do like some pretty watery serums. It weirdly kind of feels like oily on the skin, but not really oily. I'm assuming it's the ethoxydiglycol. I don't know how to say it. I think it's that ingredient because it has 20% of that ingredient in this, and I've never used it. The more I use this, I might get used to it. I've only used it 3 times. I notice I'm not reaching for it a lot. Vitamin C derivatives. Personally, my favorite way to formulate with vitamin C is by using ingredients that are vitamin C derivatives. Vitamin C derivatives are essentially ascorbic acid, vitamin C, that has been chemically modified to be more stable and also less irritating on the skin. So that means vitamin C derivatives aren't as sensitive to light or oxygen, which makes them so much easier to formulate with. And luckily, there are Ecocert's vitamin C derivatives. So those of you who try to be more natural or Ecocert compliant, there are options for you, and we will be talking about those, and we will be making products with those. So the downside to these vitamin C derivatives is that there really isn't as much data backing up the claims of these ingredients as opposed to L-ascorbic acid. There's been a lot of research done using L-ascorbic acid, and just because L-ascorbic acid has been proven to offer antioxidant protection, help with pigmentation, help boost collagen, that doesn't mean any of these derivatives also do that. A lot of my information I got about these vitamin C derivatives, about the benefits they offer to the skin, I actually got from a blog called Chemist Confessions. I actually have their book, I've mentioned it on my video, all about books to learn how to formulate. If you want to check out that video. I've read their book, actually all the way through. Really like them. They're very, very informative. First vitamin C derivative I want to talk about is Magnesium Ascorbyl Phosphate, also known as MAP. So according to a survey I conducted on my Instagram, this seems to be my followers' favorite vitamin C derivative to formulate with. Let me know what your favorite vitamin C derivative is down below. So I actually found this vitamin C derivative, MAP, to be my least favorite to formulate with because I ran into some stability issues while using it, and we'll get into that. First, MAP has been proven to work as a skin brightener. Also in one study, MAP accelerated collagen production and assembly in wound healing. But according to the Chemist Confessions blog that I was just talking about, MAP doesn't have the best track record getting absorbed by skin. They also suggest to use it twice a day consistently. Formulating with MAP, this information comes from LotionCrafter.com. It is a white to off-white powder. It is water soluble. It's light and oxygen stable. The pH of this ingredient when you dissolve it in water is around 6 to 7. It may discolor in pH levels below 6, so keep the final product's pH between 6 to 7. It's stable at 80 degrees Celsius, that's 176 degrees Fahrenheit, for up to 20 hours. So you can put this in the heated water phase and it's totally fine. If you're having trouble dissolving MAP, you want to heat it to 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit, or hotter if you can. Obviously, don't let it go past 176 degrees Fahrenheit. But yeah, if you're having trouble dissolving it, heat up your water, mix it up, and that'll help dissolve it. Its recommended usage rate is 0.2% to 3%, up to 10%. And this ingredient, MAP, is not considered natural or Ecocert. I purchased my MAP from LotionCrafter.com, and here is some other information from their websites under the formulating guidelines that I want to mention. One study indicates that MAP might be needed at a concentration of 10% to be effective at inhibiting melanin production. MAP appears to have the same potential to boost skin collagen synthesis as does ascorbic acid, but at lower concentrations. For those with sensitive skin or those wanting to avoid the exfoliating effects of highly acidic ascorbic acid, MAP may be the preferred choice. Let's talk about my experience with MAP. I thought this was going to be the easiest vitamin C derivative to use because its natural pH when dissolved is only between 6 to 7, and the product's final pH needs to be between 6 to 7, so no pH adjusting is needed, unlike all the other vitamin C derivatives we're going to talk about. So my first issue of just simply trying to dissolve the MAP, it chunked up in the formulation. I poured it in all at once. That's where I messed up, and it just chunked up on the bottom. I even heated it up, and no matter what, I could not get it to break up. I tried again. I made sure my water was nice and hot, and then I poured in just a little bit of MAP at a time. And at these experiments, I'm doing 10% MAP and distilled water. Great, it worked out just fine. But I came back the next day and all the MAP was on the bottom. It wasn't mixed in anymore. That was annoying. So I wanted to try some more experiments, like maybe adding in just some solvents to help keep it dissolved, but I didn't have enough MAP to keep doing experiments with 10% MAP. So instead I was like, all right, why don't we try using less MAP and see if that will stay dissolved? It did not recrystallize. It didn't settle to the bottom. It stayed dissolved. Anyway, let's talk about the final formula I came up with MAP. We're gonna make a MAP, so that's a magnesium ascorbyl phosphate serum. Remember, this is not Ecocert or natural. So here's the formula we're working with. Phase A is, honestly, it's just the phase where we're dissolving the MAP, and the disodium EDTA is a chelating agent. I actually did a post on Patreon, and it's actually on my YouTube channel too, but you have to be a member to watch it, all about chelating agents. You wanna watch that? Go watch that. There's also a video by the Institute of Personal Care Science. They talk about chelating agents too. That would also be helpful. But a chelating agent is super, super important when working with these vitamin C derivatives or vitamin C. It helps keep your product more stable, but overall, chelating agents are super important. And I recommend adding one to all of these serums we're making today. The second phase, phase B, is just the preservative and the solubilizer to keep the preservative mixed in, because this is an Ecocert compliant preservative, Euxyl K900, but it doesn't mix into water. You need some kind of solvent to mix it in. And I use polysucamose D9, which is also Ecocert, to mix it in. Then phase C is propanediol. You could also use glycerin if you want. And then the hyaluronic acids, which we talked about hyaluronic acid earlier. I'm using a blend of the ultra low molecular weight hyaluronic acid to get the benefits of the hyaluronic acid, since that absorbs in the skin well. And then I use 0.5% high molecular weight hyaluronic acid to get that viscosity building from it. And that's like my favorite blend to use of hyaluronic acids, is like half and half of the high molecular weight and ultra low molecular weight. Get like a perfect serum consistency that I really like. And since we're about to make a serum, I actually want to mention my video all about serums. Maybe it's over here, but it deep dives in the serums, and we'll talk a lot about these ingredients I'm working with in this video, well, about to work with, and it will just help you understand how to formulate your own serum from scratch and probably how to modify some of these serums formulas too. For this product, we are going to make a 100 gram batch, And I'm starting with phase A. So first things first, I have 88.9 grams of distilled water in my beaker. Make sure your beakers are sanitized, all your equipment. And I have it heated to 104 degrees Fahrenheit. I actually heated it up using my hot plates, and it's essentially just like a plate surface that will heat whatever you have on it. And then I added in 0.3 grams of the sodium EDTA. This is the chelating agent. It dissolves so easily and it's heat safe. So you can just mix it in, dissolve it, bam, move on. And now it's time to add in the MAP. Add in just a little bit at a time, mix it in, a little bit more, mix it in, or else it'll all chunk up and you won't be able to get it to dissolve. So patience is key, but here I am showing you where I messed up. This is the 10% one. And look, it's so chunky on the bottom. I could not get it to dissolve. I tried to heat it up. I let it sit for a few days. It never happened. This is what I want to show you what I actually did. I took my magnetic bean and I put it in my beaker. This is my hot plate. It's a hot plate and a magnetic stir. It stirs for me so I don't have to use my hand and make my hand tired. I'm putting pictures on the screen of hot plates and magnetic stir. This is the one I specifically have. It's $130 on Amazon. I love it. And yeah, it heats stuff up and it mixes at the same time and it saves my arm because I have thoracic outlet syndrome now from mixing all the time and being on the computer. Using this method actually makes it so much easier to add in the MAP a little bit at a time and mix it at the same time. That's kind of why I'm showing you guys this. So if you are deciding to sell a product with this and you're making like bigger batches, using a magnetic stir and hot plate would make the process a lot easier. And they do have different size magnetic beans. I'm just using one of the smaller ones. And yeah, it just mixes and mixes and mixes so you don't have to do it. Now, moving on to phase B. We're gonna have a different container here. I got 1 gram of the Euxyl K900. This is an Ecocert compliant preservative. And I'm adding in 1 gram of the Polysucomulse D9. This is a Ecocert compliant solubilizer. So this will help keep the Euxyl K900 mixed into the formula and it won't separate out. Because it's not 100% water soluble, it has issues with it. So I went ahead and poured my phase B into phase A. If the preservative you use is heat sensitive, make sure your phase A is cooled down. Euxyl K900 is actually like not heat sensitive. It's heat sensitive in like a really, really high temperature that your product probably won't get to. I should probably see just in case. Yeah, Euxyl K900 has a maximum use temperature of 100 degrees Celsius. What is that in Fahrenheit? That has to be 212 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, you gotta get it pretty hot to destabilize it. That is why I like that preservative a lot. We're moving on to phase C now. So phase C, I'm actually grabbing a whole other container. And I added in 5 grams of propanediol. This is a humectant. And I'm adding in, again, like I mentioned earlier, 2 different hyaluronic acids, high molecular weight and low molecular weight. High molecular weight will thicken this product a little bit, and the low molecular weight hyaluronic acid does penetrate into the skin better. Some people do experience irritation from hyaluronic acid, so if that's the case, leave this out and you can actually use a different thickener that we'll talk about later in this video, or go watch my serums deep dive video for all other serum thickening suggestions. Or honestly, you don't even have to thicken the serum if you don't want to. You can just keep it a watery solution. That's totally fine too. But anyway, I added all of the hyaluronic acids into my bowl of propanediol and mixed it all up. You could use glycerin instead of propanediol if you want, or propylene glycol. Now we're back over to our phase A/B. If your product still hasn't cooled, make sure it has cooled to at least 100 degrees Fahrenheit or lower now before you add in the hyaluronic acid. And then yeah, just pour in your phase C hyaluronic acids into your phase A/B and mix. And once it's fully returned to room temperature, you can check and adjust the pH because again, temperature does affect pH. So when you take the pH of your product, make sure it's fully cooled down. And the final pH of this product today was 6.5. I say today because sometimes your product's pH can drift. So I always recommend taking the pH again the next day, maybe even a week after or a month after, just to make sure it stays the same. So I removed the magnetic bean and I covered it and I let it sit overnight. I kind of just like letting my products sit overnight a lot of times before I bottle them up, just to let them like settle. There we go. I filled up my 1/2 ounce bottles and that's what the serum looks like. It has a gorgeous consistency because like I said, this is like my favorite type of serum to make for myself. All I can say is that I personally love this. I like it a lot. I don't have anything negative to say about it. It's just a basic, simple serum that will hydrate your skin, give you those MAP benefits. And I recommend putting it on damp skin. Whenever you get out of the shower, just apply the serum right on your skin while it's still damp. Let it soak up and then follow with your moisturizer. And you're free to use this serum in the AM or the PM, or both. So my final thoughts on MAP. Overall, I think this is an easy ingredient compared to L-Ascorbic acid, right? I think we all can agree on that. But it's super annoying that it's hard to keep 10% dissolved. But it is great that MAP does have some data to back up that it can help with collagen and hyperpigmentation. But since you need to use it at such a high amount for it to be effective, and 10% is so hard to keep dissolved, it makes the derivative just a little too annoying for it to be my favorite. So if you do decide to use MAP, try to use as close to 10% as possible. Use it twice a day. I imagine there's a way to keep the 10% dissolved. Obviously, I didn't have enough MAP to do enough experiments because 10% is a lot and I only had a little bag. I didn't have enough, but if you've been able to keep 10% MAP dissolved in a serum, let me know. Maybe I should try it in a moisturizer. If you guys want me to see me make it in a moisturizer, I bet that'd be easier to keep it dissolved. I don't know. I'm not too concerned with this ingredient since it's not Ecocert or considered natural. I know that's more what you guys are looking for. Let's move on to the next vitamin C derivative, 3-glyceryl ascorbates. This was my first vitamin C derivative I started using. I actually have a serum formula on my channel using this derivative, so I'll link that video below, maybe up in the corner, both, whatever. According to the Chemist Confessions blog that I keep referring to, it's unclear whether or not glyceryl ascorbate functions like a traditional vitamin C, but it does seem to be an amazing hydrator. This is a newer vitamin C derivative, which is probably why we don't have as much data on this ingredient yet. And there are different versions of glyceryl ascorbates. There is the 3-glyceryl ascorbate, which is the one I'm familiar with. And there's also glyceryl ascorbate. I don't know if that's how you say it. I don't know nothing about that. Formulating with 3-glyceryl ascorbate. It's like a light to medium amber liquid. The one that I used was clear. It's water soluble. It's soluble in glycerin and propanediol. It's insoluble in oils, esters, and silicones. It's light and oxygen stable. It's heat sensitive, so add it to products under 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's incompatible with electrolytes equal to or less than 2%. The ingredient's natural pH is between 4 to 6, and its recommended final pH for products is between 2 to 5, which I recommend going more towards like 4 to 5 because that's closer to our skin's natural pH and will be less irritating. And its recommended usage rate is 2% to 10%, and it's not considered natural or Ecocert. I'm not going to share a formula with this product today because I already have a serum formula on my channel using this ingredient. So go watch it. This is what it looks like. I have a link down below. Final thoughts. So overall, formulating with this ingredient is pretty easy. Like I said, it's the first one I bought, and I bought it because I knew it would be easy to use. 3-glyceryl ascorbate mixes into water so easily, and it will not separate from water. Also, since it's a liquid, you won't have to worry about it recrystallizing or separating from the water over time. I'm looking at you, MAP. Now, it is only active in a pH between 2 to 5, so you do need to make sure that the pH is low enough for it to be active. Other than that, it's super easy to use, and if you are making an emulsion, add it during the cool down phase because it's heat sensitive. But it seems to be a pretty popular derivative. I see it a lot of places. Moving on, Aminopropyl Ascorbyl Phosphate. We're gonna call this AAP. Overall, I found this vitamin C derivative to be pretty easy to formulate with. It dissolved super easily into water. It didn't recrystallize. The only annoying part about this ingredient is that it has to be in a pH between 5.5 to 6 to be stable. That's not a very big window. So according to the manufacturer of this ingredient, it has both anti-wrinkle and whitening effects. They did an in vivo test, which is a test done on real people. They included 33 people and found that just 0.5% AAP significantly reduced hyperpigmentation after 8 weeks by 39 to 33%. They also claim to have measured a dramatic decrease in the total number of wrinkles, about 23% after 8 weeks. So we can't take these claims too seriously, as this is an in vivo study done by the manufacturer. So more research needs to be done on this ingredient, but I didn't even see this derivative mentioned on the Chemist Confessions blog. And actually LotionCrafter is discontinuing this ingredient, so it doesn't seem to be very popular. And I actually thought about taking it out of this video, but I was like, whatever, I'll leave it in. What if it gets popular next year? Then I have a video on it already. Formulating with AAP, let's talk about the deets. It's a white to pale yellow powder. It's water soluble. It's light and oxygen stable. Addition of chelating agent can boost protection against oxidation, which I actually recommend a chelating agent with all these derivatives. Natural pH of this ingredient is 1.7 to 3.7, but the final product's pH needs to be between 5.5 and 6. So yeah, there's the annoying part with it. It's heat sensitive, add it below 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Its typical use rate is 0.1 to 1%, and it's not considered natural or Ecocert. Here's the formula we're working with. Sodium phytate, that is an Ecocert compliant chelating agent. The reason I decided to use sodium phytate in this formula is first, it's a chelating agent and we need to add one in here, but also sodium phytate has a high pH. And since AAP, like I said, has a pH between 1.7 to like 3.7, but it needs to be in a pH between 5.5 and 6, I know I need to raise the pH. So I decided to add in like ingredients that I know have a higher pH to hopefully help boost that pH up a little bit. So that's why I decided to use sodium phytate. It has a higher pH, so I'm hoping if I add a little bit in, it'll help raise the pH a bit. Also adding in trieth, we're gonna call it TEA. I'm adding 0.2% of it because I did do a few experiments, so I got a little bit of an idea of how much I need to add in. I'm adding that in to help raise the pH. You're already familiar, propanediol, liquid-dermal plus, that's a preservative. And then phase B is cepamaxin. It's also known as polyacrylate cross-polymer 6. This ingredient is used to thicken the serum. I have an entire video, like I said, that deep dives into making serums, and I talk in depth about cepamaxin. I've used it on so many of my videos, so I'm not going to go in detail about it here, but it is what's thickening this serum. Again, I'm making a 100 gram batch, and I'm starting with phase A. I added in 92.3 grams of distilled water. Then I added in the 0.5 grams of sodium phytate, mix that in until it dissolves super easily. And then I added in the 1 gram of the Aminopropyl ascorbyl phosphate. I just added it in all at once, mixed it in. It dissolved fine. No issues there. Then I added in the 0.2 grams of the TEA. Again, this will help raise the pH. Mix that in. Then 5 grams of propanediol. You could use glycerin or propylene glycol instead. It's a humectant, helps hydrate your skin. 0.5 grams liquid dermal plus. You can use whatever broad spectrum preservative that is water soluble that you want to use. And here we are at phase B. It's just cepamaxin. Pour that into your product. Just let it sit on the top. Don't mix it in. Just let it sit there and cover it with plastic wrap. And this can take up to like 8 hours to hydrate, but I always just let mine sit overnight. And when you come back the next day or in 8 hours, you'll notice that all of the powder is hydrated and it'll be like clear on top, but it'll be like chunky. And then you want to go ahead and just mix it all in and all the chunkiness blends and it'll thicken a little bit. We're only using a tiny bit, so it won't thicken too much. We're just thickening it just enough so it has a little bit of viscosity, so it's like easier to manage. And of course, gotta check the pH. The pH was 5.54, which is perfect. Yay! I didn't have to freaking adjust it all because I did do some experiments, so I already had an idea of how much pH buffer I needed. But yeah, just fill your little serum bottles, and yeah, it's got a gorgeous consistency. I love cepamaxin. It doesn't feel tacky on your skin at all. It feels basically like you're putting water on your skin. I like this serum a lot too. I'm really just sticking with like bases that I know I love, so I really don't have much to say about these serums because I like them, and I'm using bases that I've basically have used before, just adding in different actives. So how to use this serum, you want to apply it on clean, dry skin, massage it into your skin, follow with a moisturizer. Use an AM and PM, or just one or both, but use it both for best results. My final thoughts, I did enjoy formulating with AAP, but since there isn't much research done on it and it's not very popular, I don't like it too much because of that. It seems there are better choices out there for vitamin C derivatives, but it's easy to formulate with, and maybe it'll grow in popularity later, but as of now, it's not really popular enough for me to really like it because this is my job. I gotta do what people are liking and what people are wanting, right? But if you like it, great. But yeah, there's not much research on it, and also LotionCrafter is discontinuing it, so who knows if it'll even still be available when this video goes up. Ecocert / natural vitamin C derivatives. Sodium ascorbyl phosphate, also known as SAP. SAP is an Ecocert approved vitamin C derivative. So for those of you trying to stay natural or Ecocert, this is a great choice. It's not as potent of an antioxidant as L-Ascorbic acid, but it is an antioxidant. It offers a brightening effects, and it is actually a great ingredient for oily skin types. It's been shown to be great for those with oily, sensitive skin, but it doesn't absorb well in the skin. So you gotta use it regularly. And again, that information comes from Chemist Confessions blog. Formulating with SAP. It's a white to pale yellow powder. It's water soluble. It makes clear solutions at 3% or less. It's light and oxygen stable. It's natural pH. is 9 to 10. It may discolor in pH levels below 6, and you need to keep the product's final pH in between 6 to 7. I also have read some places that it needs be between 6.5 and 7, so I don't know. Add in a chelating agent for stability. It's heat sensitive, so add below 40 degrees Celsius, and its typical usage rate is 0.2% to 3% up to 10%. And it is natural and Ecocert. Here's the formula we're working with. I did make sure to use all Ecocert / natural compliant ingredients. And the Solagum AX is going to be our thickener. So Solagum AX is Ecocert, it is natural. It's, I don't know how to say it, this word and xanthan gum. And we're starting with phase A. We're making a 100-gram batch. And I added in 80 grams of distilled water. Then I added in the 0.3 grams of sodium phytate. Just mix that in until it dissolves. And then I added in the 3 grams of the SAP, sodium ascorbyl phosphate, and just mix that in until it dissolves. It dissolves super easily. Now moving on to phase B, I got a separate sanitized bowl. I have Euxyl K 900 in there, just 1 gram of it. And I added in 1 gram of polysucomulsadiene. Mix that all together. The polysucomulsadiene will keep the Euxyl K 900 mixed into your formula evenly since it's not 100% water soluble. So go back to your phase A and pour phase B into phase A and mix. And it will turn like a little white and milky, and that's just due to like the little bit of a emulsion going on. Set that to the side. Let's work on phase C. I've got 5 grams of propanediol in this sanitized bowl, and I added in 1 gram of Solagum AX, and you just want to mix it together. You will see like little chunks of Solagum still in there. They'll go away once we pour it into phase A and B. So pour your phase C into A and B while mixing. And there you go. Now you just gotta check and adjust the pH. So the natural pH is like 9.20, somewhere around there. So we do gotta make sure we lower the pH. Personally, I do find lowering the pH to be easier than raising the pH, but that's just my opinion. So in this container, I have 50% citric acid dissolved in 50% distilled water. Sorry to be throwing more things out at you, but that's what you gotta do. You gotta dissolve equal parts citric acid in equal parts distilled water. You can get citric acid basically anywhere, grocery store, Amazon, most cosmetic ingredient suppliers sell it. It's pretty easy and inexpensive. Mix that together until the citric acid dissolves and start by adding like 2 drops into your product. If you are experienced with doing this, you can probably add more, but I don't want you to lower the pH too low. Just add a few drops in at a time and then take the pH again. So the next time I took the pH, it was 7.8. So that's still a little bit too high. So I went ahead and added in a couple more drops of that citric acid solution. And then here the pH is around 6.779, 6.8. There we go. And that is perfectly fine because we want somewhere between 6 to 7 or 6.5 to 7. Like I said, I read it both places. So we're just going to leave it there. And I covered it with plastic wrap. I let it sit overnight. And I did check the pH again the next day just to make sure it didn't drift. And it did actually like lower a little bit. It lowered to 6.77, which is literally barely anything because it was 6.8. When it comes to using this serum, I don't reach for it as much just because I don't 100% like the sensory feel of Solagum AX. As much as I like the hyaluronic acid or Zen, like it's fine. I can handle the tackiness a little bit of the Solagum AX because it's not as tacky as just using xanthan gum, but it's still not 100% my favorite, but it's good. It's like I'll rank it like an 8. The hyaluronic acid and the Zen are like a 10. So it's still good. It's just not the best, but you might like it. And also maybe lowering the usage rate a little bit, maybe to 0.5%. I might like it a little bit more. Anyways, you want to use the serum the same way you use the last one. Apply it on clean, dry skin. And then follow with moisturizer. Use it in AM and PM for best results. So my final thoughts on SAP. I like formulating with this derivative. I love that it's Ecocert, so that makes a lot of people happy. Plus, it seems to be a pretty popular derivative and has a lot of research to back it up. I like that it's good for acne-prone skin too. The main thing to keep in mind is that it does have a high pH, so you do need to make sure you're lowering it. Pretty easy fix, honestly. Ascorbyl Glucoside. Ascorbyl Glucoside has been shown in vitro studies to be a potent antioxidant. It's been shown to slow down melanin production along with promoting collagen, is commonly used in products that help with hyperpigmentation and help with even skin tone. Also, Ascorbyl Glucoside is really popular in K-beauty and J-beauty skincare. Formulating with Ascorbyl Glucoside. It's a white powder. It's water soluble. It's light and oxygen stable. Its natural pH is between 2 to 3, pretty low. And it needs to be in a product's like final pH. It needs to be between 5 to 7. You need to add in a chelating agent for stability. And it's heat sensitive, so add it below 40 degrees Celsius. And its typical use rate is 1 to 2%. And it is natural and Ecocert. Here's the formula we're working working with is identical to the last formula we just did, other than I'm using Ascorbyl Glucoside instead of SAP. Other than that, it's all the same, so you should be familiar with the ingredients. Again, we're making 100 gram batch, starting with phase A, and I added in 88.95 grams of distilled water. Then I did 0.5 grams of sodium phytate. I mixed that in, waited for it to dissolve, and then I went ahead and added in the 2 grams of Ascorbyl Glucoside. Mixed that in, it dissolves super, super easily, and set that to the side. Grab another container for phase B. I've got the Euxyl K 900 in here, just 1 gram. I'm adding in 1 gram of polysugomos D9. Again, this will help keep the preservative mixed into the product. Mix those 2 ingredients together, and then grab your phase A and pour phase B into phase A and mix. And again, it'll turn kind of like white and milky. That is normal. Now moving on to phase C, set that beaker to the side, grab another sanitized container, add in 5 grams of propanediol and 1 gram of Sologum AX. If you want to use xanthan gum soft, you could use that here too if you want. It'll just maybe be a little bit more tacky. Mix those 2 together, and then pour your phase C into your phase A and B while mixing, and the viscosity will increase just a little bit, not too much. And that's it. Pretty easy to make, pretty fast. The hard part, I say, is the pH adjusting part. So pour a little bit into a tiny beaker. The natural pH is 2.93. The sodium phytate probably did help raise the pH just a little bit, but it wasn't enough. So you could use the TEA to raise the pH, but here's the thing. TEA is not Ecocert compliant. So if you want your product to be Ecocert or like natural, you can't use this. But what you could use is a dilution of sodium hydroxide. And I've showed how to make this on my channel many times. You take 10% sodium hydroxide and you dissolve it in 90% distilled water. Sodium hydroxide is what people use to make soap. And it needs to be sodium hydroxide, not potassium hydroxide. Dissolve that into water, and my video all about pH will go into detail on how to do this, so I'm not going to show you guys how to do it because I've showed you guys how to do it already. And you're going to need to use that solution to raise the pH. This is the hardest part about this product, is having to raise the pH. And there's not really many options to raise the pH that are natural. I get asked a lot of time if baking soda can be used. In my experience, I can't get baking soda to dissolve. I don't know. I can't get it to dissolve. So baking soda doesn't work for me. I recommend using the 10% dilution of sodium hydroxide or the TEA to raise the pH. And you just want to add in a couple drops at a time, mix it in, wait a minute for the pH to adjust, and then take the pH again. And you're going to continue doing this while keeping track of how much of the pH buffer you're adding in until you get the pH you want. And in the end, let's say you put in 0.5 grams of pH buffer. Since we made a 100 gram batch, we know that we'll need 0.5% of the pH buffer in the formula. So after you experiment and adjust the pH, you can add that pH buffer into the final formula. So in the end, I ended up with a pH of 6.97, which is kind of high, but the pH does need to be between 5 to 7. So technically I'm within the window, but that's what happens when you add too many drops at once. It goes too high. So that's why I say only add a couple drops in at a time. But whatever, since mine was within the safe pH level, I just left it there, covered it with plastic wrap, waited till the next day, and do check the pH again the next day to see if it drifts. But yeah, I went ahead, I filled up my bottles, and there you go. That is another serum. I like it. It's about an 8. Like I said, the Sologum Sensory Feel isn't my favorite, but I think you'll like it. You'll probably like it if you're not as picky as me. I'm pretty picky with sensory feeling. And yeah, the consistency is nice. It's got a nice viscosity to it, so it's not super liquidy. And I think this is great for anybody who's trying to stay Ecocert or natural. And in order to use the serum, apply it onto dry, clean skin, then apply your moisturizer, and you want to use it in AM and PM for best results. Final thoughts on Ascorbyl Glucoside. I really like this vitamin C ester. It's super easy to formulate with, other than the fact that you have to raise the pH, and I think raising the pH is harder than lowering the pH. That's just my opinion. I also love that it has research to back up its claims, and I also love that it's popular in K and J beauty. And since it's Ecocert, I think that makes it even better. So definitely recommend trying it. Just make sure you raise the pH, or else it'll burn your skin. Other vitamin C derivatives. Tetrahexyldecyl Ascorbate, THDA. We talked about this ingredient earlier. We're talking about it again. Tetrahexyldecyl Ascorbate is one of my favorite vitamin C derivatives. It was actually my favorite until I started making this video and tried other vitamin C derivatives. What makes this one different from all the other derivatives we've talked about is that it's oil soluble. Since it's oil soluble, you can easily add it into oil-based products like face oils, body butters, super easily. Also, since it's anhydrous, we don't have to worry about adjusting the pH because anhydrous products don't have a pH. Anhydrous, again, is oil-based. Once you have water in the formula, water has a pH. then you'll have to adjust the pH. But if you're using the Tetrahexyldecyl Ascorbate in an oil-based formula, you don't gotta worry about the pH at all. Makes it so easy. So yeah, overall, this vitamin C derivative is really easy to use, and we can also use it in a lot of products that we can't use a lot of these other derivatives in, like body scrubs, body oils, and stuff like that, because all the other vitamin C derivatives that we've talked about are water soluble. So according to Chemist's Confessions blog, I keep referring to, THDA does absorb better in the skin since it's oil-based. It also has been shown in vitro studies that it's a good antioxidant, and then it's been able to brighten hyperpigmentation. I've shared a handful of formulas using this ingredient, so I'll link them down below. I have a video titled Easiest Vitamin C Product You'll Ever Make. I also have a brightening turmeric and vitamin C exfoliating face wash video, and I even have so many other videos on Patreon using this ingredient. So when it comes to formulating with THDA, it's a clear to yellow viscous liquid. All the ones that I've had have always been clear. It's oil soluble, it's light and oxygen stable. Since it's oil based, again, you don't have to worry about its pH, but when you're putting it in a water-based product, which you could do, you could add it into like a moisturizer at the end of the formula. You need to have the product's pH be between 3 to 6, which is a pretty good window because your skin's natural pH is between 4.5 to 5.5. You want to add in a chelating agent for stability if you're using THDA in aqueous formulas. It's heat sensitive, so add it at the end of the formulation below 40 degrees Celsius. Its typical use rate is 0.5 to 3%, but up to 10%, and it's not natural or Ecocert. That's all I have to say about that ingredient. I really like it. It's still one of my favorite vitamin C derivatives. It is expensive, but you only need a small amount of it. It lasts a long time, and I think the investment and the price, I think it's worth it. One last ingredient I want to talk about, L-Ascorbyl Palmitate. This is another oil-soluble vitamin C derivative. I've never used it myself, so I don't have much to say about it. I just want to mention it in this video. I found it on makingcosmetics.com in powder form, but it's oil soluble. So it's in powder form, but it needs to go in oil-based part of the formula. You can put it in water-based products, but you have to like dissolve it in oil, obviously. I also found this ingredient on formulatorsampleshop.com in liquid form. That is water soluble, and it's under the name Formulator Sample Shop FSS Vitamin C Liposome. There we go. That's about it. I am so tired of talking. I am done. That is all I have to say. I wanted to just explain to you guys why vitamin C ascorbic acid specifically is so hard to use, why you can't just throw it in anything, and then I wanted to give you guys a whole bunch of other alternatives and talk about all the derivatives because there's so many of them. And this video honestly just got out of hand. It was only supposed to take a month to make. It ended up taking 2 months. And what is this video? Over an hour long? Is it an hour long? Did I make it to an hour? I don't know. I don't know until I edit it all together. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Please comment something down below. I want to hear from you. Please like the video. Subscribe if you enjoyed. Go watch all my other videos if you guys want to formulate more, because I've been formulating here on YouTube like 10 years now. A lot of the older videos are privated now. I have so much content over on Patreon too. Hope to see you there. Oh yeah, and again, all of this that I talked about is over on Patreon in written form, typed out. So if you guys want to go back to refer to all the information, because I talked about so much information, Patreon. You can print it out too. It's a whole PDF file. It's great. He's been snoozing the whole time. Also, don't forget to go over and check out my Patreon where I post 2 exclusive videos every single month. So there is a ton of videos you can go over there and binge watch. For only $5 a month, you get access to the entire backlog. And for $10 a month, you can get a shout out for your small business. So let's shout everybody out. naturesfarmgirl.com. Let's Blend LLC, at Stardust Bath and Body on Instagram, hempygirl.com, shoplevis.com, Owl and Lily on Etsy, embracebeautyessentials.com, Legendary Bath and Body, Astari Apothecary, Reviga Cosmetics here on YouTube, exorebb.com, pardonaturals.com, Natural State Skin, thenatureandus.ca, nearcatalier.com, use the code on the screen for 20% off, earthandambernaturals.com, Shark City Naturals, Day to Relax Spa, Crowned Glory LLC, LH Scented Soaps and more, Janae Rose, Health Nut Beauty on Etsy, velvettemptations.com, Journey Rose Beauty, chrbrands.com, Homestead Life Goods on Etsy, NellaBathandBody.com, Madhouse Mama Soaps, xpo.com, Mystical Morning on Etsy, and the rest of these brands haven't launched yet. SkinByDevu.com, Seventh House and Oak on Etsy, at Black Petal Beauty on Instagram, and mycrownandglowery.com. Thank you guys so much for your support. Literally, without you guys on the Patreon, I wouldn't be able to continue doing what I do. So thank you so much.